Hey, my name is Matt. I'm the founder of Ranking Tactics, and welcome to the next lesson in our Frase Academy course series. This is lesson number 2, and we're going to dive into the research component of Frase. I'm going to show you around and then share a couple of my favorite tips with you, because ultimately the goal of this research component is to help you write content that's going to rank higher on Google. Now, when you go to Frase and you open up your document, you're going to see this tab over here called Research. This is the research functionality of Frase. And when you scroll down, you're going to see the top 20 SERP results that Frase has brought in from Google. So it's gone out to Google, performed a query for this particular search right here, and then brought in the top 20 results. And you can look at the results, you can look at the word count, the domain authority, assuming you have the AI SEO add-on. You can, and this is one of my favorite parts, you can actually click on the headings and see what the content is and build your outline, build your research that way. This goes well beyond what an AI tool would offer you, because that's not going to help you rank. This is the kind of research that you're going to need when you want to compete against those high competitive search queries. Now, the first tip I want to give you when you're using this is this pencil icon. So many people skip this step, and this is incredibly important when you're dealing with a not so competitive search query. So how to break in a chainsaw is probably a lot less competitive than a query, what is SEO? And what happens is when you have a less competitive search query, not as many people have written articles on it. And so the research component, the stuff from the SERP, is only as good as the SERP results. And we're going to jump ahead real quick, but this optimize feature in Frase that tells you what keywords with long tails and short tails to bring into your article, it's based on that research component. And so if you have SERP results that are not relevant, that's going to skew your optimized results. So you click the pencil icon and you can go in here and see all the different results that Frase now has pulled in and is using for the optimized functionality. Let's look for something that's not relevant to how to break in a chainsaw. So the first couple results we expect to be relevant. Best way to break in a chainsaw. How to break in a new chainsaw, break-in chainsaws. Part 2 announces first break. This is a comic book. Nothing whatsoever to do with how to break in a chainsaw. If we leave this selected, it's going to skew those optimized results. So let's unselect this, deselect it. A Steam game, Billy's Chainsaw and Bubs versus Pallet Kicking, Dead by Daylight. Okay, it's about a video game. Limp Bizkit, Break Stuff lyrics. Again, not relevant. And this is a news article right here. So we can deselect some of these. We click save, and then Frase is going to reprocess the selected results. And then the optimized suggestions are going to be completely different. Make sure you do that when you're writing your article, otherwise you'll get bad results. Now, the second trick is to take advantage of the content brief in split view. You might not know this, but when you first open up Frase, the default tab is content brief. Now, you can write your whole article in here if you want to. You can, from start to finish, you can write it all in here. That's perfectly fine. But there's another tab over here called My Content, and it actually, I had stuff in there, it actually looks identical. It's just another tab to hold your content. And if you really want to get fancy, what you can do is you can write your outline in the Content Brief tab. So as an example, let's automate the content brief. Let's insert this into our editor. All right, we've added it right now. This is our content brief. Now what we can do is as we go to write our article, we can refer back to that content brief in this side tab right here. So what we do is we click split view, see this little option down here, split view, and now we can see our content brief and then write our article based on that. And so what you can actually do is you can put all kinds of stuff in that content brief section. You can make a whole outline, all your different H2s, your H3s. You can go to the research component in Frase and you can bring in different headings, bring in content from the headings. So you want to bring in a section on, let's see here, trying to find something good. You want to bring this in right here. Let's paste the whole thing. There we go. Paste the whole thing in there. We go to the My Content section. We click Split View, and now it is up here. We can refer to all of our content as we're writing the article. This makes it so much faster to write your article. It's so much faster, at least for me, when I have my outline already written and my notes already taken, to then just expand upon that, to write my content based upon that. Makes the process a lot faster. Now, the third trick I want to show you is to make sure that you use Wikipedia. So you click this, you go to research over here, you click the drop down, you click Wikipedia. The goal of ranking is not just to do what everybody else is doing. That's why we have the research component. We want to go and see all the different headings they have and see the concepts they're covering and bring those concepts into our article. But then we want to go beyond that. We want to go above that. You need to do that if you want to rank. You can't just be ordinary. Ordinary is what everybody else is doing. Yeah, you need to do those things. You need to have those concepts in your article. But then if you really want to show Google that you know what you're talking about, that you truly are an authority, go to things like Wikipedia. So Wikipedia topics right here. Now it will pull up what was in the optimized section. So it pulled up chainsaw, for instance. So we can click Open Wiki, and it's actually pulled the entire Wikipedia article in here that you can then talk about. And as an example, you can find concepts in here about a chainsaw. Maybe you're not an expert on a chainsaw. You can find concepts in here that are not recited in the SERP. But I can guarantee you Google knows about these things because their AI model is a lot larger than anything we have access to. So as an example, oil holes. If you've ever used a chainsaw before, you have your oil mixed with your fuel, but then you also have your bar and chain oil, the oil that you add in a separate reservoir that's going to lubricate that chain as you're using the chainsaw. That's why it gets all oily when you're touching the chain and stuff like that. The oil, the bar and chain oil, comes out of these oil holes. But what's interesting, and I'm jumping ahead here, if we go to the long tail and we type in oil holes, nothing comes up. No one in the SERP has talked about oil holes, but it's probably very important from a research standpoint to talk about the oil holes. Let's go back to there. You could, as an example, say it's important to make sure the oil holes are not clogged and oil is actually coming out of those oil holes. Because if it's not, you're going to burn up your chainsaw. Very important concept to talk about that no one else has talked about before. And Frase allows you to find those golden opportunities and then bring them into your article. Very cool trick. Hope those tricks helped you. There's a lot more to grasp in Frase. This is just the tip of the iceberg right now. If you want to learn more, then keep watching. In the next lesson, we're going to do a deep dive into the optimize and the outline functionality of Frase. And if you want more than that, this is just a taster right now. If you want the whole turkey leg, you want a lot of meat, then in the description below, check out my Frase Beginner to Master course. I have over 7 hours of content with tips and tricks just like this on how to better use Frase to write content with the goal of ranking higher on Google. And I also do a deep dive into my AI templates and creating those. So definitely check that out. So are you ready for the next lesson? Let's go.